Welcome everybody. Hope you're doing all well in this lovely weather we're having. So I thought I'll do a quick catch up. Haven't done a live for a while. So if you've got any koi questions to ask, feel free to do so. Today's been a lovely day here in Leicester. It's been up to 25. Read the pond level. 25 today. Nice and sunny today. So fish have been sort of lazily today. They don't like the sun too much on them. So I had the extra bit of shading or hugging the wall today. So too much sunshine, not so good on the fish. So if you have any questions, go ahead and feel free to fire them in. I'll just wait till I see any of the questions pop up. Getting, hopefully your core, you're doing well. There's a lot of time now, blanket weed is on the rise in a lot of ponds. Even my natural blanket weed killer, that is a plecos, they're struggling to keep up with it. Every evening they'll eat a bit out, then by a couple of days it's grown back. So they seem to be struggling this year. Yeah, so I said if you got any questions on koi, let me know. Just waiting for a phone call. May have to go, but I've got a few minutes to kill before I go in and set up my office, do some call to the United States, some work I'm doing. So, oh, did I miss a question? Sorry. Something just popped up. Let me just see. Hey, Stuart. Best fishing trip? I had lots of good fishing trips. Probably the best one, or the most memorable one, was catching my first bonefish on the fly. That was probably the best there was. It was in Tobago. Stalking fish on the flats, as it were, with a guide, friend of mine, and saw a pot of fish moving, cast the fly probably 20 yards, 22 yards in, fly dropped bang on the spot, didn't spook him. Two strips, bang, grabbed it, and that was my first ever bonefish. When I first hooked it, I thought it was something else, snapper or something, because it didn't do anything, just sort of stood there and shook its head. And then it took off, and then it emptied the reel of 100 yards of back in, brought it in, then another 50 yards of back in. And yeah, bonefish is probably one of my favorite fly species. I've caught tarpon on the fly. The biggest tarpon on the fly is 188 pound to date. That's the biggest that we know of in Trinidad to be caught on the fly. I've had bigger ones on stand-up spinning rods or with bait, but fly caught, it is that more challenging to catch it on the fly, so it means a bit more to me anyways. Um, I've had all tarpon, bonefish, snook permit. I've had two permits, um, and the best one probably about £8. I've never had permit to double figures, so I'm hoping later on to probably, once all this coronavirus thing dies off, to do a bit of permit fishing. So hopefully that answers the question. I mainly fly fish, although I got into a bit of carp fishing here, mainly because it's cheaper taking the kids out fishing. Um, but yeah, mainly fly fishing. I'm going fly fishing next week for sure from the bank. At the moment it's a bit too hot for fly fishing, so yeah, if you got anything else, let me know. Didn't expect to talk about fly fishing, but actually it's 188 pounds, not 108. I've had them 100 pounders in Trinidad are not uncommon, and almost everybody catch them between 60, 80 and 100 pounds. But I've had them all that sort of size on the fly. But yeah, my biggest on the fly was 188 pounds. We didn't weigh it because a fish of that size to pull it in and put it on a boat, you might kill it. So the captain did his thing where he measures the length and the girth, and here's a weigh. So he put it around 188 pounds. He said it might have pushed 190, but yeah, so roughly around there. Did I see something about Alan Clay? What's your opinion on adding clay to the pond? Clay to the pond is, in my opinion, it's okay. Generally, most of it does nothing other than probably help with clarity by bringing the stuff together, clumping up together, and helping water clarity. It can improve the skin ever so slightly by taking the loading off the kidneys, and generally you want the fish to not just swim in the clay but ingest the clay. If you ever mix clay in a pond or in a cup of water, just get a cup of water and get a cup of water and mix clay into it, and then take a TDS meter and put it in there, and you'll notice the TDS wouldn't move an ounce because the clay doesn't totally dissolve in the water. It sort of breaks into small particles, as it were. So the best way to get clay is to get them into the fish. Let the fish feed with clay. So you could make a paste, roll it into a paste like to do in fishing, and let the fish ingest clay. And it eases on the kidney. But I used to do it back in the day when I started, almost all the time. To be honest, I can't remember the last time I put clay in this pond. If I put it in, they'll probably freak out because I don't know what it is. So I don't use it at all in my hobby at all whatsoever. Let me see here. Sorry, I'm just going through the question. Favorite koi? What's my favorite koi or favorite variety? Let me see. Maybe I read that wrong. Thanks, Phil, on the video. Yeah, I'm working at it. Some stuff from Japan coming over soon, as far as video as well. Favorite koi? I don't know. I have lots of favorite koi. My favorite koi is not always the best koi. Sorry, the rabbit is here again. My favorite koi is not always the best koi, but it's a koi that I sort of have a little bit of time for. And at the moment, it's a big gold Momentaro. It's not the most expensive fish, but one of those fish that I've learned to fall in love with, as it were, really. Yeah, clay. Somebody added it can help with algae in the pond. Yeah, it will help as well, but I'm not really. I personally, what you get out of it to the pond, it doesn't doesn't add that huge amount. Sorry, I'm going to move the rabbit. It doesn't have that huge amount of benefit, so I tend not to use clay. The only time I used it last time was when I got it for free. A dealer sent me, I think the JPD mud it's called, and I used it. I didn't see any difference in the fish. The water had probably less particles, but that's if you use any koi clay, it will do that. But it didn't warrant me going out and buying more. So hello from Texas. Yeah, Texas is my favorite place on the earth. Steak. El Paso is where I tend to visit, but I want to go to Dallas. I'm a big Gas Monkey fan, Richard Rowland, so I want to go there. My goal one day is to buy a car from Gas Monkey, if I can do that. That's what I'd like to do. I lived in America for many years. When I went to college, I lived in Portland, Oregon, in Seattle, down from Seattle, I should say, and that's where I picked up fly fishing on the Columbia River for steelhead, salmon, and chinook, where I learned fly fishing. I found a fly rod. Somebody abandoned it in the college, and I picked it up, started using it, and took to it straight away, better than spin fishing. So I love fly fishing. It's my favorite thing. Goshki is mine. Sorry, I missed that one. I'm not sure which Goshki it is. Maybe I missed what you were trying to say. Yes, so I have plecos in the pond. I've got in here 6, I think. They're all huge. When I say huge, 55, 60 centimeters, and they're ravenous. They eat up all the clay, all the any string weed, they clean it up and stuff like that. I leave them in here all year round. I don't take them out, and they stay in here for treatments, whatever treatment I treat my koi with. Also, the plecos get the same treatment. There's no preferential treatment. I don't take them out during the winter. I don't do them anything. I've had them down to 12 degrees, and they've been fine. Although I did lose one at 12 degrees, but I find with pleco they're more sensitive to temperature drop than koi, so you'd want to just move it ever so slowly. But the lowest I keep the pond is at 16, and it's been fine at 16 degrees. And I've got polycarbonate around here. So most breeders in Japan, with their good koi, they wouldn't let it go any lower than 19 degrees. I know Okawa, where one of my big kois that's coming over hopefully in the next couple of days or weeks, that's now 86 centimeters. But that koi, he never drops it below 21 degrees. And that's Yuji-san in Okawa. So plecos are fine like that. They in Trinidad, that's where people eat them there. I never tried them, but and they're like in drains and sewers, and I've seen them in side road drains with water, and it has car oil in it and coolant, and I've seen hundreds of them there. So plecos are not a problem at all, you know. For me, plecos just do the job. And I've got like a leopard kind of looking sailfin pleco and a few other golden, but they love it because they've got 6,500 gallons to swim in. Most of these were rescue fish that came from people aquariums that was 50, 60 liters, 100 liters, 200 liters. So imagine when they dropped in a 6,500 gallon pond, they thought they'd died and gone to heaven. So they're in here, they're massive. There's no special treatment for them. They stay with the fish. There's no caves. There's no nothing. They just eat. And the idea I got this from was I saw them first at Matsue Koi Farm. Takahiro has them in his koi ponds, and they sell them on as well. So pleco is not a problem. They don't attack the fish. They don't eat the fish, as some people think. They don't latch on to the fish. Takahiro has his with fish that are up to 3 million yen. And if you don't know what 3 million yen is, 1 million yen is about 8,000 pounds. So multiply that by 3. And he has plecos swimming with his 3 to 5 million yen fish. So if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. So that's where I got the idea from. It wasn't originally with me. And then also Mike Snaden of Yumikoi had plecos in his dream pond as well. He had more than me. I think he had like 10. I need to get more for here because it's very clear that they can't keep up with the workload. So I need to get some more in. Okay. Do I carp fish? Yes, Phil. I carp fish. I'm not expert carp fisherman. I'm learning it, but I grew up fishing all my life in the Caribbean, so I could tie all the knots and the rigs. I've been watching the Quarter boys, how to tie rigs, and also the Nash boys and all the videos. And then there's also two young guys, Alex and Carl. I've been watching them as well, and so I could tie all the rigs because I could do a bimini twist and the F knot, the FG knot, and I could also do, all the like game fishing, big rigs for marling and sailfish and on the fly. So carp fishing is a little bit different, and I do it mainly because I like the solitude of it. Set up your tent or bivvy, sorry, and enjoy it as well. Um, so that's where I'm learning carp fishing. I wouldn't say I'm expert. I've caught carp up to 10, 12 pounds. I've not had anything bigger, but so far, every time I've been carp fishing, I've caught. And I sort of tie, I think you would call it a runny rig or a swivel hinge rig where the hook end on the length pops up. So I tie that, I use that, and I tend to use sort of like the helicopter rigs and stuff like that. But fly fishing is more my thing. I'm more at home with that. I've caught carp on the fly, and every time I go carp fishing, I have a fly rod in the carp gear, and I've tucked it out before and cast out in between the carp and caught carp on the fly up to like 14 pounds on the fly. where all the carp fishermen were looking at me. I had one guy said to me, "There's no salmon in here." So obviously, when I pulled out a fly rod, he thought I was fishing for salmon. But yeah, I caught some carp on the top as well in that way. So I don't know if you have any more any other questions. Hopefully, you can hear me fair enough with this now. I think this might be better than the other stuff, but hopefully you can hear me fine. Um, but I plan to go fishing next week. And if you haven't joined Rastakoi Forum, just go on YouTube and sign up Rastakoi and look for Rastakoi there, and you could sign up. We've got an event coming up soon where it's a toss-side challenge with the breeders. The fish have already been selected, and they're excellent quality fish, sexed and everything, ready to roll, going in the mud pond. So either very late tonight or early in the morning, the listing will go up and people will select fish. Mike will talk about those as well. So now somebody's asking about Ozone. I've never used Ozone, so I'm not an expert on it. But Rad Hassan, Rad's a friend of mine, and you might have seen him in one of my videos. He used it for a season. Now he don't use it anymore. Um, the thing with Ozone, and everybody who used it don't use it no more. And it's been around since I started the hobby back in 2004. It's been around, and people were on it and off it and on it and off it. So I don't want to comment on if it's good or not good because I've not used Ozone in itself. So if I was to tell you about it, it would only be what I read, and it's not a good. That's not good advice. It's just what you read. You need to go through your experience with it. And unfortunately, whoever asked about it, I have zero experience with running Ozone. Um, but all the mates of mine who are big koi guys who ran Ozone eventually got rid of it after one season, sold equipment off, and stopped running Ozone as well. So, Phil Madden, if you're watching this, I'm not sure what Goshki you mean. Maybe I missed something. If you could sort of tell me what you meant, then I would know as well. But hopefully it's been a lovely day where you've been. It's been a nice day here as well. Just getting ready. I'm going to, I don't know if you guys have been to Ken at Coldwater, or the Koi Collection it's called now. Before it used to be the Coldwater or the Koi Collection. I'm going there. I need some pipe work for some Japanese airlines I brought over. I need to make some connections for those. But I'm going over there soon. Um, let's just see some more questions. You know, when it comes to maturing a koi filter, a lot of it has to do with temperature, and it must be heated, and then also the type of media you have in there. Um, and so, so I'm trying to read at the same time. So with a koi filter, no matter what chemicals you put in and what sort of things you've got there, to me, my mind and my experience again, 24 degrees, get your water to 24 degrees, hold it there for 10, 12 days, and the filter should mature. If you're having problems then something is definitely wrong. At those temperatures, the filter should begin to sort of go through the nitrate cycles, as it were, and you shouldn't have a problem maturing your filters. With my Baki house that I use with Shaw was 10 days. 10 days at 24 degrees, boom, and it's sailing. And in fact, I never tested after 10 days. And I tested the other day with my pollen test. The ammonia was so low, it was giving me a reading below zero, which was it couldn't find anything. So with filters and maturing filters, a lot of it has to do with temperature itself and making sure you have enough media, and the media has enough contact time and things like that. Okay, let me just see. There's another question popped up here. Can you explain about the gas and water to prevent supersaturation? The depths of water is filtered. Yeah, so it's always good to have your water gassing off, because with these fish in here, remember they're constantly going to the toilet, constantly going to the toilet in that water. And as you go through the nitrogen cycle, as it were, what you're finding is there's a buildup of gases and nitrogen going through. Now, if I was to walk into my filter house now, as I did just now, it's absolutely, you could smell the ammonia. There's zero reading, but you could smell the ammonia and from the coming off the showers. I have tend to leave the door open. The only reason it ever gets shut is so the rabbit don't go in there. Um, but you need to gas off your filters properly, and things like a shower is perfect for that. So if you could get a backy shower, the water crashing over with fresh air circulating in. Although mine is in a fish house, there's fresh air circulating in there. It's constantly exchanging old air for new air, as it were, gassing off. It will affect the koi, and the Japanese are very, very much aware of that. So they tend to make sure they do it by blasting a lot of oxygen in the pond. And when I say a lot. The problem with that, especially if you run a pond like I do, is if you have your bottom drains running and you've got big koi, it can affect their swim bladders. So if you look at my pond right now, I'll turn the camera around. If you look at my pond right now, the only air is there because that's for the food, but that's it, nothing else. And that's how the pond sort of sit, because I've got large koi in here. When I say large, 87, 88 centimeters, most of them 50, sorry, most of them 75, 80. So I tend not to run the bottom drains at all. I don't use them at all, really. I have oxygen, like today was very hot, so I have a couple air stones I hang around the pond, about 2 foot down, half a meter or so down from the surface, and I use that to sort of add oxygen to the pond. Super saturation is very hard to achieve, but it can be done. But most likely you'd probably need more oxygen in your pond, especially when it's really hot. So I tend to put extra in, and the koi tells you by their behavior whether they're lethargic or lazy. A lot of times you could do too much in your system itself. So for me, I tend to sort of don't have a lot of air running. I've tested my oxygen with a proper lab grade kit, and I'm running at optimum oxygen level as it is. So I don't believe in too much oxygen. And recently, well, last year when I was at Matsue Koi Farm and a couple other koi farms, they have a lot of air pumping in, and I was talking to the breeders about it, and they were saying many good idea, many bad idea. So in other words, because they had a few fish that blew the swim bladders with it, and so they are switching over to using bigger showers in there in one of the farms. So if shower is off for 1 week, as sorry, I'm trying to read your message. If the shower is off 1 week as getting pond upgrade, how long will it take for the BHM to mature? I'll be back to 23 degrees. Um, it shouldn't take long at all. I mean, my showers when I moved house, my showers were my my what you call it, my backy house was in the garage for a month. On 10 days, boom, it was back on again. If you wanted to, you could put the media in a bowl of, in big bowl of pond water if you got bowls, and put a couple of air stones in there and keep oxygen, and it will keep some of the bacteria alive. So if it's a few hours, then that's what I'd recommend that you do. Just take the backy house media out. That's the only media I've ever used. I wouldn't use any other one. I'm not against anything else, but I'd only use the ones that I know and the breeders use. And then drop a couple of air stones and put the air stones at the bottom and put the media on top of the air stones and blast air over it. If you're delayed because something's gone wrong, change a couple of buckets of water, put some fresh water in, just like that really, and oxygen in a massive bowl with the media should keep it alive while you're doing your work. So that should be fine. There wouldn't be a problem with that. So yes, you could keep BHM submerged. In fact, in my discus tanks, that's all BHM. I'm not going to buy no cheap ceramic discus uh, media when I've got what I think the best in the world there is. So I just use Backy House media. It's totally submerged. And I've got like a box of media, 10 kgs in my discus tank, all submerged. Nothing's crashing over it. The water's flowing through it. And it's fine. The pH in the discus tank is 6.1, 5.8, 6.1. and yeah, no KH whatsoever, very hardly any KH, if any, and it's all working fine. The discus are fine, the readings are fine. There's no problem. Okay, so there's nothing to worry about as far as discus is concerned, and the nitrogen cycle. Um, I've never been to New Forest Koi. I can't. I don't like talking about farms I've not been to because I don't know, and I don't want to get in bother. Um, but I don't know. Any other koi related questions? You could feel free to fire away before I sign off. Let me see if I missed any. Um, no problem. If you've got any more questions, flow rates, Andrew, through a moving bed. Sorry. What's your favorite koi farm to visit when in Japan? Oh. All right, let me answer flow rates and then I'll go there. Um, Flow rates through your moving bed. I would say you'd want contact time is a lot of people get hung up on contact time, but I would want to make sure that I'm testing. Get a pollen test kit, 7100. It's about 3 grand, expensive, yes. But if you want to know the science of koi, it's hard to know it with all the dip tests. The only one that I find is closest, the color charts, to the accuracy of the pollen test, and mine was a couple of grand. Actually, I don't have it now. It's gone to pollen test in Newcastle area. It's been calibrated and sent back to me. I do it every year, so I know it's bang on. And the only one that I find that the reading is close to the pollen test is the API test kit. Every other test kits I've used, they have a variation. The only one that was close enough to the pollen test kit was the API. So if you were to say, look, I can't spend 2 or 3 grand on a test kit, which one would you recommend? In my estimation, go with the API because I've used API, I've used some other ones, and the API test kits tend to be on par um, with the pollen test kit, which tells me it's working similar. But I'm not good at looking at colors, and then you got to look up a chart and mix it and shake it and mix it. I like numbers. Numbers are precise, and if the stuff has been calibrated, it is what you see on the tin, and there is no trying to figure out is it too much sunlight, green, yellow, blue. I'm not into that. So, somebody asked about my favorite farm to visit in South Japan. Um, what food do I use? I'll answer that in a minute. So, favorite farm in the world? I don't know. I like Takigawa. Takigawa is one of my favorite farms. Probably it's up there. Takigawa, the old man, the way he does everything, his sort of the way he handles it, sort of like mystic Zen sort of style, really cool. I like Okawa. I love Ueno. The man's got some amazing Showa. Omosaku, of course. I've just bought an Omosaku, one of their top Tosai. Um, I was fortunate enough to buy it, so I just bought it literally a couple of days ago. It's gone in a mud pond. And yeah, so they sent me videos and I work with them through Mike and yeah, I selected it. And so if I get to Japan in November this year, God willing, I will see the fish that I bought from a video. I've done it before, it's not a problem. I trust Mike, and if I get it wrong, he tends to pay for all the meals, so it works out that way. Um, I tend to feed sake hikari only at the moment, mixed with JPD. I'm using the Kentaro stuff from the Koi water ban. The fish love it, absolutely love it, and they look good on it so far. It's too quick to tell for me to recommend it. The dangers with feeding sinking food is you could feed too much and the fish end up with a belly on them. So you just got to be careful. Mix it. I would go 30% sinking, 70% floating. If you got a large koi like I do, I would put probably 50-50 because they're large fish. I don't like them too much on the surface. I like them feeding naturally. Like many of your carp fishermen, more than I am, you would know carp feed more comfortably off the bottom, the large carp. I'm not saying they can't eat off the top, they can, but when in lakes and stuff like that, the water shallows in, um, in ponds we tend to have a same depth all over. So that's my idea. Ethan, you asked a question. I can't see it now. Ethan Charles, please explain to me why deep pond causes similar issue. Um, okay. I'll come back to that. Taylor? Is it Taylor your name is? Um, sorry, I just missed your question. Just went in my head and went out. I need another glass of wine to wake me up. Deep ponds as well. A lot of it has to do with pressure on the fish gut and when it gets bigger. I know there's a lot of farms that have deep mud ponds, but you got to remember mud ponds, they're only there for 3-4 months of the year, if that. So um, they're not living in there like concrete ponds like we do. Momentaro is big. If you ever look at any videos of Momentaro, when I was there, they have this massive massive pond, their main show pond, which is like, I think it's like 4 or 5 meters deep. But now they've drained it and they've got so many fish with some issues out of there that I've understood. I could be wrong, but I've understood that they're going to shallow it up a bit. So it has to do with the pressure, water pressure in fish, especially when they get really large. Again, I know people with deep ponds who say they've never had a problem. It's a bit like health, you know. Some people smoke cigarettes and they never die, and some do, you know. But for me, my pond is 1.5 meters deep, and I go with the advice of what I've seen in Japan and talking to Mike Snaden, and 1.5 tends to be the best way to um, keep the ponds in depth there. I know that's not scientific, but um, that 1.5 meters, and I sort of uh, graduate from the edge of the pond is 1.4, 1.3, and it curves down to 1.5. So everything is pointing towards the drain. Um, what has been the single greatest upgrade you've ever made to your system from starting hobby? Drums. Whoever asked me that question, I'll tell you that, is drums. Once I went to drum, I was going to pack up the hobby, and drum sort of was the single greatest thing that I've added. Once I added a drum, it helped me with better water, helped me to be able to do my job and not always have to be out in the back in that way. So RDF, if you could get a drum, get a drum. I use Red Label drum. If you're in England, probably save your money, buy a Profi. Um, I don't get any money from anybody, but I would, if I was buying a drum now, I'd buy a Profi drum. That's my feeling. You could buy a Wazer, you could buy cheaper ones, but if I had to do it now and you say, go buy a drum now, or just here's the money, go buy a drum, I'll go straight and buy a Profi. That's what I would do. What are your thoughts on rock filters using different size of rock? Enter in the bottom. Oh, sorry, David J. I don't know anything about rock filters. Rock filters using size. You need to explain. I don't know. Sorry, David. Somebody asked, do I show my core? Yes. If you look on the videos here, I don't know. I need to find an old drive because I had some footage of shows. But I've been showing koi since 2012. So 8 years. I've been showing my koi for 8 years. And in that time, I've learned a lot. Showing koi is great for your eye, but not good for your wallet. So if you want to learn more about koi and koi appreciation and confirmation and terry and ojime and getting the fish with the right motogoro and body confirmation, showing koi would help you. But if you can't afford it, long term it will affect your wallet. So showing koi is great and bad for yourself. What I tend to do is buy cheaper koi and then move things, sell on and move on and stuff like that. So I wouldn't advise that you show your koi, but I advise that you go to a koi show. If you don't want to show koi, it's not a problem, but I advise that once you get in, it could get into your blood, you know. I'm very competitive. And then all of a sudden, you spend instead of £800, 8 grand, 10 grand on a fish. Not really good, really. So, yeah, I got to watch over my shoulder. My wife don't hear that. Let's see now. Air stones not on the bottom? Matt, holy. I don't know what you mean. I've got air stones now, but they're not on the bottom. They're about half a meter off the top. So I don't let them touch the bottom floor. Taylor Lewis. The best way to convince the wife it's okay to spend money. You know what I did one year? One year I sold one of my Shiro. I'd bought this Shiro. If you look back at old videos, I think it might be on Kevin Ellis's Koi Nerdin video. I'd bought a Shiro. Most amount of money you spend. I would not disclose the amount, but you could buy a small car with it, a decent car. And I bought a fish Shiro, and my wife wanted this holiday, blah, blah, blah. We couldn't quite afford the top end, what we wanted to do. So somebody liked this Shiro, and in the end I sold it. And whatever I sold it for, I asked the guy to transfer the money straight into our account, and all that money went to the holiday. And she was so bowled over that now she just lets me buy and sell. So once you could pay the bills, every now and then I would sell a fish and pay off a massive bill or something, or pay the water bill or the gas bill, and that keeps it happy. I think that's what convinced my wife to do it in that way. Is covering your pond essential, or can you run a pond successfully? Sorry, let me read this. Is covering your pond essential, or can you? I am referring to exposure sun. I watch your video with Rad Hassan and Ozzy. Yes, I cover my ponds right now. So if you can, let me flip this around. I'm sure you've seen this, but for those, there's a there. The problem with this garden, it gets a lot of sun, and the fish can get sunburn. Rad, although in that video does not have a cover, he has a cover now, which is like it's called a sail. You know, to put like a triangle tarpaulin sort of posh looking thing. Rad has one of those on because too much sun on your fish, especially when you have fish that you show could damage the luster, the shine, the skin. You could also get skin sunburn on the koi, and it looks like hikui. So when I built this pond, a cover went straight up because I've seen fish sunburnt, and this, especially the last couple of days, I was so grateful I have a cover on the pond. So I make sure that you have something to cover on. I would say, coming back to nitrates, maybe ask that question if I miss it. So I have something on. Today I put an extra, today I had the umbrella that open up to stop sunlight going directly in. The good thing about polycarbonate is that it stops the UV, and the UV is harmful to us and harmful to the fish as well. So will you choose the shade to do your pond? Sorry, I can't. Somebody asked a question about nitrate. Who was that? Anyways, I thought I saw. All right, if somebody asked about nitrate, I can't find the question now. Maybe if you want to know about nitrate, the best way to get rid of nitrate is run a protein skim of some sort. Because the protein, if you look at the stuff that comes out of the protein skimmer, the dirty water, the yellow tingy water with all the gunk and stuff, you would know, and you test that for nitrate and you test your pond, you'll notice how high the nitrate is on that. So the best way, a cheap way to get rid of nitrate from your pond is get a protein skim of some sort in there, and it would remove it. And you can make, people make their own. I can't make anything. I can't even make Lego. So the best way is to use a protein skimmer, and you'll get rid of the nitrate. With GH and KH, it's best to have it lower. This pond is a bit too high for me. The KH and GH is about 6. It's way too high for me. I'm going to run RO in this pond probably this year. Recycle RO. I want the GH and KH about 1. My old pond, I ran it at a half. In fact, my old pond, as soon as we made a drop in, it turned color right away. And if those who test their ponds would know what I'm talking about. So I had very, very little to no GH or KH in there, but the skin on the fish was superb for sure. And a lot of people commented on how the fish of the koi, the skin on the koi look blinging and shiny. And in my estimation, it had to do with the GH and the KH. Every pond I've been to that has high KH and high GH, although the fish seemed okay in it, the luster and the shine of the fish was always like matted, dull. And people who've seen my fish at the shows have said that the skin looks way better. Do you think it's okay if a pond? Oh, let me see. I'm answering questions as quick as I can. Do you think it's okay if the pond is small, like 1,000 liters? I have 3 koi. 1,000 liters is, I don't know how much that is in gallons. Maybe you could ask me again in gallons. I've just answered a question on clay earlier, so you can see that as well. 1,000 liters, maybe somebody could tell me. It's not a lot. I would go with the minimum size of a pond. Pond is probably 1,000 gallons. 1,000 liters is you're not going to long term. You're not going to be able to keep anything long term in 1,000 liters. 1,000 gallons, yes, but 1,000 liters, 3 koi. It's according to what you want out of the hobby, you know. But eventually, a hobby would grow, and maybe that's how you start. And I'd recommend easy ponds or Denby ponds where you can get ponds ready made, or you know, I mean, I build this. A builder built this for me. I gave him all the design, and I did every. I can't build anything, so he built this for me. And this was my dream pond, and still is my dream pond. If I was when I was to move from here again, I'd probably build two this size, and have a third pond as well as a quarantine, and then probably if I do, I will have a fourth pond as a big polytunnel thing, maybe 50,000 gallons and grow fish on it as well. So it is. Sorry, I just saw the question here. Let me just see. What does it say? Did you say? Oh, maybe you need to rephrase that because you're saying this. Yeah, it's not coming across right. You need to let me know what you're trying to say about the pond size. So, as you can tell, it's getting pretty dark now, so I got to go in. But hopefully, you've learned a bit from that. And if you've got any more questions, let me know. But have a look back on the videos, and the videos themselves would. The video itself should might people who've asked questions that already answered might answer it again. But there's a few new videos will be on here that my friend Mike and dealer Yumikoi is going to upload. Some of my fish going in a mud pond in Japan. I've got now 3 fish in Japan. How much do I have? 3, 4 fish in Japan. 3 or 4. I need to look at the paperwork. And yeah, but I'll do this again every now and then. And please like and subscribe, share the videos so we can get more followers and maybe do this again. All right, so that's all for now. God bless you all. Keep safe.